Good afternoon, everyone. Most of you, it's afternoon. It's working, Dorita. The sound should be working now. It was silent. It's now not silent. Um, an exciting week for us. You can hear Dorita. Good afternoon, everyone. Look at that. I've done that again. Good afternoon. Sometimes I start that live stream earlier and then forget about it. Very good. So it's another week for us to talk through some questions, but also we had that nice teaser emails that went out saying that we've got a new feature that Blue and I are very excited for Blue to demonstrate for you today and for you to have a play around with as we're doing it. As we're going through that, you could put some questions in on the dashboard, ask a question, hit that button there, and we'll keep track of those. And then you can put questions or comments in the chat as we're going as well that might relate specifically to what we're doing, but particularly questions on different topics that might be a particular feature that you're trying to work out. Please put that in on the dashboard ask a question button because then we won't lose it in the chat. So with all of that, hello, Blue.
Hello, Grant. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
Look at
Grant and I
look at
spoke about 2.5 hours ago. Did you get any sleep or what?
a little bit of sleep. A little bit.
It's
It's
that
so
time of year. It's,
yeah,
it's
like
what we call
sleeping
the
is
business
so
mastery time of year.
like sleeping is
Highly
so
overrated.
2023.
No, you're not wrong. Yeah. We're not doing that in 2024. This is a new year and a new you. And apparently a new us.
No.
So I know some folks are still joining, so I don't want to jump into it just yet. Today, I wanted to, some of you who are on this call have seen and even heard us talk about the feature that we released this week, but you haven't actually gotten to play with it yourself. So today I'm going to show you the ins and outs of a feature that we released. I believe we actually made it public late yesterday in the day, but we're only actually telling you about it today on today's call because rather than having you have to show up for two Obvio calls, we thought we'll just have you show up for one. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that particular feature, and we're also going to be talking about a second feature, and I'm going to show you um, some of the ins and outs of a second feature that is probably I want to say it's about 3 weeks out. It's really, really, really close, and we're at the point where I feel confident in actually showing you a little bit about this new feature that's coming. And when I said in the email earlier this week that what is being released today is the most requested feature that we've had, what is coming in the next 3 to 4 weeks or so is probably the second most requested feature that we've had. So we're knocking out a couple of really, really big ones right here at the beginning of 2024. A few faces that I haven't seen in a while, so it's great to have you guys with us. And with that being said, I thought, Grant, we could probably start with a couple of the big features that we released in 2023, just kind of as a reminder. Again, I know some of you have heard this because we've spoken about it over the last couple of weeks. But we, as a platform, have had some really significant um, up levels over the course of the last 12 months or so. At the beginning of the year, beginning of 2023, we started the first thing that we did internally is we actually transitioned to a brand new infrastructure here at Obvio. Now, what that means for most of you, probably not a whole lot, but what it meant for us is the ability for the platform to do even better at scaling up and down for really, really big events. So when we have an event for 50 to 100,000 people, which had happened a couple of times this year or last year, it doesn't have any measurable impact on our everyday users who are just, going in and using the platform for a normal event, like say 100 to 200 people or less, right? So making sure that those big events don't affect our smaller events was a really big project that we took on, and happened over the course of January through about March of 2023. The other thing that happened a lot over the course of last year is we released a whole host of new native integrations to work with third parties. So some of you may be familiar that when we launched early on, we had Zapier, we had Keep, and then we added
Remember that happened?
MailChimp. That happened primarily in 2021 and a little bit of 2022. In 2023, we added 5 new services that we integrate natively with, so that you can sell your tickets on, or sell your attendees, or have your attendees sign up for their event on these platforms, and be able to then email your attendees their magic link to get into your Obvio dashboard. So services that we launched and integrated with natively last year: HubSpot early in the year, Go High Level kind of mid-year or so, and then this fall we added Active Campaign, ConvertKit, and then in December we added Entreport. So we now natively integrate with 8 different platforms, which really just means that it's even easier for you to get your attendees into Obvio events without having to change anything that you're doing. Meaning you can still have people sign up on a page that you built in Keep or Active Campaign or ConvertKit, and get them into Obvio to a secure membership site for your event without any problems. Other things that we did, we launched a new, I believe it was last year anyway, we launched a new template called Lefty. And late last year, we started work on a new template called Town Hall. That template is about to be made public within the next week or so. There's just a couple little kinks that we're working out. Sage is running our first event on that template next week, actually. So kind of has to be ready by then. So it will be. So a couple of new looks to your dashboards, allowing you further customization and options into how the entire system works. Halfway through the year last year, we added SMS as to our communication engine, which is still in beta, but it is something that you can request access to, and you get access to it. Early on, or late last year, actually, sorry, late 2021, we started talking about SMS. And we also started talking about something called Marketplace, which is where you could sell your own tickets on Obvio. And originally, Marketplace had a fee associated with it, and SMS was conceptualized to only be used with people who sold their tickets through Marketplace. We made some changes to how that worked last year, and the biggest change was we built SMS so that it's accessible to everybody, and we also made it fairly reasonably priced, I think. The cost to send SMS messages to your attendees is 2 cents if they live in North America, or more specifically, if their cell phone lives in North America. And it's 10 cents if their cell phone lives outside of North America. So a fairly flat fee and fairly low cost to actually get everything through to your audience and to your attendees if you're going to send them SMSs. And then, of course, the communication engine also allows you to send emails from within the platform. So those are kind of the big things that we did last year, in addition to a whole host of small upgrades and changes and shifts, and I'll just say bug fixes and so on and so on and so forth. Not nearly interesting enough to actually go through on this call, but you as a community do a really great job of letting us know when something looks weird or perhaps isn't working the way you want it to, we try to stay on top of those bug fixes first. And then, of course, anything that we see or things that we think should be a little bit easier to use or perhaps operate a little differently than they are currently based on how they were originally intended or conceptualized versus how they actually wind up. So that was kind of 2023, and I'm shortcutting a few things because I don't want to make you wait much longer for the announcement on what we have pushed live to all users. So, Grant, did I miss anything of significance that you think should be mentioned before we move
That's what I
on?
was that's what I was thinking about, but I don't think so. I think we got all the major changes. Along the way, there was lots of little buttons that were added and little tweaks to things to make things easier. And that's the thing, that because we're using the platform ourselves to run events day in, day out, there's always little things that we think, oh, that needs a little tweak. Or and particularly the event that happens every well, a couple of times a year is Blue and Barry's event, TVE, the virtual event on virtual events, and that's always a great one for pushing a couple of extra features through. And so I always look forward to that, because it means that we get a few extra features. So that's what we'll get to talk about a bit today.
Yeah. Little minor things. An example of a minor thing that we actually pushed onto our system or onto production at the end of last year was some of you have probably taken a look at the statistics page, the event stats page from time to time, where it shows you how many attendees you have, how many of them have checked in, if you have the waiver step turned on, how many of them have signed the waiver, etc. Well, if you go to that page, in the top right-hand corner of that page, there's a new button that just appeared recently called Filters. And this is a little thing, but it allows you to change the statistics that you're looking at to be based on specific attendee types, whether your attendees are grouped by tags or what we call groups inside of Obvio. You can now say if you have a subset of your attendees who are VIP, as an example, you can easily say, what's my check-in stats for my VIPs? And that's something that we've always kind of wanted, and it's a little thing, right? It's not this big massive feature, because you could get that information by exporting your attendee list and just kind of taking a look at the stuff manually, so you could get the information. Or if you had a third party integration like Keep or something along those lines, you could probably get the information in that platform. But now it just lives inside of Obvio, which is, again, one of those nice little features that got added. Another one, and this is a silly one, but on the Zoom areas page, there used to be two toggles that both said open. And talk about a little minor change, but one of them was always to open the area and one of them was to open the room, but they both just said open. And how would you know which is which? So we finally made the change to add the word area next to the one that says open for the area and rooms next to the one that is open for rooms. Now, again, that's a silly little change, right? And it's probably something that should have been done a year ago, but it's just one of the many things that we're doing to constantly try and make things a little bit easier and a little bit more intuitive for you, the user. Okay, enough of that. Anything else, Grant?
No.
All right. So I'm not going to make you wait till the end of the call. This is really also intended. We are using the beginning of our normal weekly Q&A call to make this announcement. So I want to be able to get to Q&A for people who have it. And also, just as a reminder, something that we did this year in 2024 is we have rescheduled all of our calls. They now all take place every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So we used to do a call in the morning at 8 a.m. and a call in the afternoon, and that would alternate week to week. And for a number of reasons, mostly because very few people attended the morning call, and those that did begged us to have only an afternoon call, we decided to move all of the calls to the afternoon time slot. So now you don't have to try and figure out, which call is it this week? Is it a morning or an afternoon call? You can always just go ahead and know that your Obvio Q&A call to find out about the platform, ask any questions that you have us walk you through anything that you're struggling with the platform, now takes place every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So really excited about that as well. It's a little thing, but I actually am excited about that because I hated the 8 a.m. call. All right.
Bez, you haven't missed anything yet. You're okay. We were just doing a recap of some changes last year, so you came just at the right time.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, you know, I think most of you know that the majority of the events that we produce here at Sage tend to be what we call enrollment events. And enrollment events are events where you host an event, you teach people a certain skill set or a thing or whatever the case may be. And throughout the course of the event, you give them an opportunity to take a next step with you. I oftentimes like to the uninitiated, I call it continuing education for entrepreneurs, right? Because a lot of people understand what continuing education is. And essentially, a lot of our clients host an event that then provides an opportunity to join a continuing education program for a year. Barry and I host one called the Virtual Event on Virtual Events. You all know that. And we have a continuing education program called LEAP. So a lot of our clients do that. And I think one of the things that's most important for us, when you host an event, is to know who was online, right? Because when you know who was online, it's a lot easier to tailor communication, right? For those of you that host events and send reminder emails when you're going live, as an example, many of you probably also send an email about, or a text message or what have you, about an hour into your event and say, hey, if you haven't already joined us, we are live. Come join us, right? And just best practices to try and get the most people to actually show up to your event. Now, the challenge with things like that is oftentimes you don't know who was present, right? And that can cause some interesting communication that happens, right? We have sent out emails that say something along the lines of, hey, come join us. We've been live for an hour. And you get emails back from your attendees who were present who say, I'm here. What are you talking about? Right. So that is one of those things that we find often. Also, for those of you or those of us that at some point during your event, you made an offer. You want to know who saw the offer, who saw the invitation. For those of you who don't have enrollment events, but you have, let's say, keynote speakers at your event, you may want to know who showed up for a specific session at a specific time to say, okay, you showed up, you get the replay. I've seen events where, you know, the only way to get a replay is to actually show up live. I've seen that as a strategy as well. And a lot of those things rely on information, right? They rely on, did the person actually show up? And that's not ever really been widely available inside Obvio. You can find out who checked into your event very, very easily. You can go into your Zoom areas and do like an export of the log to see who showed up at some point. But to get the information about who showed up at a very specific point in time, like a very granular point in time, has always essentially eluded those of you and those of us who use Obvio as a platform. And that is really until yesterday. So the feature that we released yesterday is a feature called Zoom Attendance. And Zoom Attendance lives in the Zoom areas part of your event. And for those of you, if you have your own account, when you log in and you just go to any event in your account and you go down to the Zoom areas section on the left-hand side of your event menu, you'll see Zoom attendance. Now, if you happen to be logged in to an Obvio account that you're not the owner of, like you are a team member or a guest, there is something that um, has to be done. So if you have team members, Zoom attendance, I'm going to go into team, and I'm going to go into our roles. And Zoom attendance is a feature that is, let's call it feature locked at the role level. Nice thing for those of you who are owners of your event or owners of your account, you may not want everybody on your team to have full access to this information. So much like so many other things in Obvio, it is something that is accessible through permissions. So if you don't see it, you may need to reach out to your, to the owner of your account and ask them to go into roles and enable Zoom attendance for your role type. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go into a client's event, and I'm going to go down to Zoom areas, and you now see this thing called attendance down here on the right-hand side or left-hand side. And how Zoom attendance works is really quite simple. You have a start date and an end date that you have to define. So I'm going to take a look at last Tuesday, and I'm going to take a look at starting at 8 a.m. And then I'm only going to go for one day. While you can look at Zoom attendance over a range of days, I would highly recommend that you keep your Zoom attendance stats, like when you're looking at this stuff, to just one day at a time. It just works better from a graph perspective, with that being the case. So I know this particular event was started at around 8, and I think it ended at around noon. And you can also select which area we're looking at. I'm just going to look at the main stage for now. And when you click load, you get 6 unique stats, which are interesting. And I'll share what each of them are with you. And then you also get a graph with 3 different lines on them. The most important one being the one that we all want to know about is in Zoom. So how many attendees or how many people were actually in Zoom at the time that you specified. So again, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., I can see by just clicking on my Zoom. If I just click on in Zoom, that will hide the other 2 bars. But I can see at 8 a.m. there were 195 people in Zoom. At 8:18 there were 640. I can see that it peaked somewhere around 9:48 with 1,083, and then the event dropped off. When the event probably shut down at around 11 a.m. So very detailed view. You can also, if you want to go a little bit closer in, you can click and drag over the graph that you're looking at, which will reset your start and end dates to kind of zoom into the area that you're looking at. So it gives you a little bit more granularity. This graph shows 20 points. And one of the questions you may be asking is, does it show like an attendance every 10 minutes? Does it show it every 5 minutes? What does that amount to? It's the total duration that you're looking at divided by 20. So it's always 20 points. If you're looking at a 10-hour window, it's going to show an attendance every 30 minutes. If you're looking at a window that is, I'm just going to say 200 minutes because I can't do math quick enough in my head. It's going to show you an attendance point every 20 minutes. If you're looking at a window that is an hour and 20 minutes, it's going to show you, I think, every 6 minutes. So it just continues to get more granular depending on the duration that you spend. The smallest number that you can look at is a 20-minute window, and then you'll see every 20 minutes or every minute you'll see what things look like. Now, let's talk about what these things are up in the at the top, these blue squares. These blue squares give you some initial data that you may be interested in. Number of sessions. So let me explain what each of them are. In the coming weeks, one of the updates that we have coming is a little little tooltip, a little eye, like a little letter I with a circle you'll start to see in these. And when you hover over it, it'll give you the same explanation that I'm about to share with you. Sessions is, can you all hear my dog just going nutso in the background?
No,
She's
we can't.
crazy.
Can't.
Well, that's good. She's decided that she is barking at strangers, and I can hear it, so it's driving me crazy. Anyway, so sessions. This is the number of times you had an attendee join in Zoom. And if one attendee joins Zoom and then leaves and joins and then leaves and joins and then leaves 20 times over the course of the window that you're looking at, they will count as 20 individual sessions. Okay. So, and this happens a lot, right? If you have a long day and you are live for an hour and a half, and then you have a 15-minute break, and then you go live for an hour and a half, and then you have a 30-minute break, it won't be uncommon for your attendees to join and leave and then come back and leave. This tells you how many times your attendees joined and left total over the course of the duration you're looking at. So these stats are always just for the window that you have selected. So in this particular case, we have 1,728 sessions. Next up is the average attendee duration. So this is the average amount of time total that an attendee spent in Zoom during the window that you're talking about, that you're looking at. Okay, this is a great piece of information for you to know, especially if you're hosting smaller events, right? If you're doing a webinar on the platform that is 60 minutes long, it's really a valuable piece of information to know, on average, how long were my attendees with me. What's also valuable, of course, is to see where the attendee numbers dropped, right? And for those of you that host, let's say, a webinar that's an hour long and 45 minutes in, you make an invitation, let's say, to a live event or to purchase a course, or there's an action that you're asking your attendees to see, you'll probably see a small dip right around there, because generally speaking, when you make an offer, especially on free events, you see a little bit of a dip. Now, these are all numbers that we kind of look at in Zoom. I'm sure you do as well. But the nice thing about, and we have as a company tracked this stuff when we host a live event. We have spreadsheets that have times and how many people were in attendance, and times and how many people were in attendance. So, and we have that for our clients that, here at Sage. One of the things I love about this is I no longer have to do that, right? I can just log into Obvio, highlight the time frame. It's almost like I got the time of a whole team member who was in charge of statistics back, which is awesome. And if I forget to tell somebody, hey, would you do me a favor and track those numbers? Now I don't have to worry about that. So average attendee duration is really important, and probably the most interesting stat on here from my perspective. Average session duration. This is for each time an attendee joined and left, what was the average duration of each individual join? Now, there's going to be something. How many of you use breakouts inside of Zoom when you are hosting an event? Just quick show of hands. You don't have to raise your digital hands for those of you who have your camera on. Okay, most of you. So there's something interesting that Zoom does is when an attendee leaves the main room and goes into a breakout room, that counts as a new session. So if you have a 90-minute long window and you had 100 people in attendance, and halfway through you sent them into a breakout and then brought them back, even if everybody was present for the entire time and they technically never left the actual meeting, your average session duration is going to be artificially low, because Zoom counts that entry into breakout as its own session. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at it. That's why I think average attendee duration is actually more valuable than average session duration, but it's a piece of information you may find useful. The next one is something that is generally much harder, has always been much harder to get access to inside of Obvio, and now you have it at the push of a button, which is unique attendees. So for those of you that host an event that is, let's say, 6 or 7 hours long, and you have a few hundred people who've signed up for it, but you never see more than 100 people in attendance. Oftentimes, you probably have thought to yourself, I only ever had 100 people at my event. But the reality is, you probably had a small percentage of people who left and new people who came back. So your total number of people who saw your event is oftentimes higher than the the peak amount of attendees that you had at your event. This event is no different. So the window that we're looking at had a peak or a unique attendee number of 1,324 attendees, but the maximum they ever had in Zoom was 1,083. So previously, this person may have thought by just looking at their participant, like in the Zoom window, just looking at their participant window, oh, I have, I peaked at 1,083, and that's true for concurrent users, like at one time. But the total number of attendees that he had over this 3.5 hour window was actually 1,324, which is he almost had an extra 300 people in attendance at some point over his event. So this is, again, something that you now have nice and easy access to that we're super excited about. Okay. Here's something that I learned a long, long time ago, and I'm sure you guys know this as well. And that is that information without action is kind of useless, right? Like if you just look at this information at the end of your event and you're like, oh, look, this is how many people I had at my event. Great. You now have a little bit more information, but if you don't actually take action on that information, it's kind of like useless information. My father used to say that he was a fountain of useless information, just random bits of information that he could share with you, but weren't actionable. Like, who cares? So you're going to see this button right here, and this is probably the core feature of Zoom attendance that is the most important. This graph that we're looking at is neat. The statistics are cool. But what is really exciting and what you should all be thinking, oh, wow, I can now do something really special, is this attendee actions button. Now, when you press attendee actions, you're going to have 3 options: export attendees, add Obvio tag or group, and add external tag. And what these things are going to do, export attendees, I think, is probably fairly straightforward. It is going to give you the ability to export a list of all the attendees who were present during the specific window that you're looking at. So you're going to be able to really easily have that information and use it somewhere else. For those of you that are using Obvio to send SMS, to send email, or if you're using Obvio with visibility rules to customize an attendee's journey on the dashboard, you can add an Obvio tag or group. Here's what that looks like. Let's say let's go back to the example where you have a keynote speaker. And you decided that you want anybody who actually sees a portion of the keynote speaker, you're willing to give them a replay of that keynote speaker. If they didn't show up, you don't want to do it. But if they did, you want to reward them for showing up and at the same time give them access to the replay in case there's something that they want to revisit. Well, you can highlight the time frame that the keynote speaker was speaking during, and then apply a tag like attended blues talk. And then on your dashboard, you can upload a recording of the video and apply visibility rules so that only people who have the attended blues talk tag can see it, allowing you to take action and customize the attendee's experience based on attendance. Okay. So something that is really, really, I think, interesting and really unique. It also means that you can customize messaging for those of you who have enrollment events and you make an offer, you can have 2 posts on your dashboard that are ready. One post that is ready for people who saw the offer, where you want to possibly encourage them to take action, and another post for people who didn't see the offer. Because those people are really important. Just because they didn't see the offer doesn't mean that they're not ready to take action. It just means that maybe they had another call, maybe their computer died. There's any number of reasons why somebody may have been present for the majority of the event, but missed this one key moment. Well, you can now write a post and perhaps a video even that's pre-recorded that's customized for the person who missed the offer entirely. You know, something where it says, hey, looks like you may have not been present this afternoon when I announced our coaching program, Leap. I want to tell you a little bit about it because it's awesome, right? So you can customize that journey for attendees. And one of the things that we know is the more you write for a very specific person, the more the person who's reading the post or watching the video feels as though you are talking to them, the more likelihood you have of that person taking whatever action it is that you want them to take. Okay, so customizing your messaging, customizing the dashboard experience based on attendance can be really, really powerful. You just have to give it a little bit of thought and think, okay, this is my key moments at the event. How do I want to handle this? And I think you could have a lot of fun with it. All right. The next piece is very similar. So the ability to add an Obvio tag or group is very similar to this next one, which is add external tag. Now, add external tag, the key difference between add Obvio tag or group and add external tag is if you are integrated with a third-party service like MailChimp, Keep, HubSpot, or any of the 8 total systems that we natively integrate with, you can send a tag for all of the people who were part of your query, right? Part of your attendance that you're looking up, just to those attendees. So again, allow you to customize the experience and your communication with your attendees. So I'm going to use Keep as an example. You may have a email sequence that's set up to go out after your offer has been made. Well, again, if you customize that email to be more specific to your attendees, like to people who saw the offer versus people who didn't, you're going to be able to increase the reaction, increase the engagement with the email, and thus increase your conversions. So adding an external tag allows you to automate certain things within your own CRM based on attendance at your event. Again, a very, very powerful thing. We have people who for a long time have been asking about CME credits, right? They host non-enrollment events, educational style events. And in order to give CME credits, they have to show that those people were in attendance. Well, now they have that data at their fingertips, right? If you have a CME session that is taking place in the afternoon between 2 and 3 p.m., and in order to get those credits, the company that you're working with requires you to show who was actually in attendance. Now you can do that. Right now you can say, okay, tomorrow or yesterday between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m., who was online? These are the people who get credits. And you can do an attendee export. The interesting thing about the attendee export is the summary or the log will actually show you that export will not only give you a list of everybody who was present for that window, but it will show you how much time they were online during that window as well. Okay, giving you a little bit more detail, a little bit more access to be able to customize that experience in that journey. So we're really, really excited about stats. That's where statistics lives today. I'll tell you that we are making a couple of changes that that you will probably see in the next week or so. A couple of additions. The first edition is the ability to, on the attendee action currently, when you click on, let's say, attendee exports as an example, and you ask for a summary log, it's going to just export everybody who was present for any duration between 8 a.m. and 11:36 p.m. Now, if I were to ask you, is that information valuable, or is it more valuable to say, I want to know who was present for at minimum 60 minutes between 8 a.m. and 11:36 a.m.? That feels like it would be more valuable, right? Because you have just one more piece of information about who was present. Well, that's the piece that we're adding to attendee actions. The ability to, on that action, say for a minimum duration of X time, only apply the action to those people, which just gives you access to more power and more customization. The other thing that you're going to be able to do in the not so distant future, again, next week sometime, is actually time the ability to tag your attendees. So for so many of us, unlike myself and Barry here at Sage, you may not have a full team of people helping you to run your event. You may be running your event a little bit more solo, which means you may not have time to, during the event, go into the Zoom attendance thing, say, okay, who was like right after the offer, who was present for the last 90 minutes, right? And then say, okay, now tag those people, because that's manual. But you do have time to, in advance, go into Zoom attendance and say, okay, I want to know who was online tomorrow between 6 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. And now at 7:30 p.m., I want to run this particular action. I want to apply an external tag. I want to apply a tag in Keep, as an example, that says they attended and saw the offer. But I want it to just happen automatically. And that's coming as well. So the ability to set up these actions in advance is the beginning of what we're calling our automation workflow system, to allow you to do and prep things before your event, so that you can continue to not just take advantage of Zoom attendance after the fact, but prep to take advantage of Zoom attendance before your event even happens. So some really, really exciting stuff. I do want to share with you one more feature that's not related to Zoom attendance, but before I do, I'm going to just pop into the chat. Actually, there's a lot of chats. Grant, do you
Yeah, I'm
happen to
tracking.
know if, yeah, any questions on the stuff we've talked about so far?
There's a couple of questions. Um, Justin had a good question. I don't know, we'd need to play around with this. He was saying if someone comes in as an attendee and then is promoted to co-host, do they continue to count in the metrics as an attendee? As long as they
Yes.
came in as an attendee, yeah, they do. Um,
Yep.
are we? What I wasn't sure of is if we're excluding uh, the the team members, like the host and
Yep.
co-host.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought we
So
were.
not the so I'm gonna say it a little bit differently. Um, we are excluding people in these counts in the Zoom attendance feature. It doesn't include people who join Zoom from the Obvio backend, like from the administrative system. Okay. If they join Obvio from the dashboard, it counts them. So if somebody joins from the dashboard and then you promote that person to host, or sorry, to co-host, or you just make them the host, they still count because they came from the dashboard. So as long as they come in from the dashboard, or then they will count in Zoom metrics. The only people who don't are folks who actually start the room from the back end, from the Zoom, from the Obvio admin, or people who join rooms from the Obvio admin area. And again, that was a very there's a couple of reasons for us doing that. There's a technical reason that actually made it really difficult because of how we're gathering information to count team members. But then as we started thinking about it, when we are doing events for our team or for our clients, I actually don't want my team members counted in my counts, right? I don't actually want, like, I want to know the real number of attendees who are attended. If I had 10 team members in my Zoom room for some reason and I had 20 attendees, I don't want to think that I had 30 people in attendance, because I didn't. I only had 20. So that's the main, that, it turns out that the technical reason why we did it serves the real, the logistical reason why you probably want it that way anyway. Any other questions, Grant?
Yeah. So Heather's very excited about external tagging. Is it possible to external tag back to high level?
Yes. Yeah, it is. You can external tag back to any of the 8 systems that are integrated with Obvio. So Zapier, Mailchimp, Keep, HubSpot, Go High Level, Entreport, ActiveCampaign, and ConvertKit. They all can do that, and you can do that now. That's not something that that's already in the system today.
Yeah.
Can you
Um,
only tag people that were in Zoom on a certain day? Um, yes, but if you just want to, if you're not worried about the stats, you're only worried about the action, you can choose a day range, right? So I know you have a client that does like a weekly thing. You could, pick a long range and say, okay, if they were in Zoom, like go to Zoom attendance, pick your main stage, go from January 1st to January 31st. Your graph is going to look really weird because it's only going to give you an attendance point remember, it's every 20, it only has 20 attendance points, right? So it's like every day and a half, it's going to give you an attendance point. So it's going to look weird, but the attendee actions will function exactly as you would expect, which is they will tag people who were present in that window. Yeah.
cool, cool.
Um, yeah.
So
Anything else?
yeah, Karen said earlier, which was great. Application is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. To your point, Blue, around if you're just looking at the numbers and not doing anything with it, it's useless. And I think that particularly online events and older sort of live stream webcasts and things, people have been quoting numbers all the time that mean nothing. It's like we had 2,000 impressions of our video, which meant that people came and looked for 2 seconds, or they went for 5 seconds and then they left, and it just meant nothing. Those sorts of impressions or that sort of thing is useless. That's something that we have found, is that our engagement is so much higher in Zoom, particularly when we're doing Zoom meeting like we're doing now. We can see faces and we can engage with everyone. So then taking that data and doing something with it, adding it to tags, and then customizing communications is very exciting and means a lot. And as Blue was talking about, the more personalized that things are now, the more likely they are to take an action on it. And it means something. So yeah, love that quote, Karen. Um, then Kevin was just asking, can the Zoom attendants tell if the attendee had their camera active?
Yeah, that's
Which
a great question.
which can't, yeah.
Yeah, the answer is no. It can't. Um, that actually isn't something that Zoom technically actually even stores in their dashboard data. I know there are ways to do that with like Zoom OSC or something along those lines, but we're working with Zoom's backend data, and that's not a piece of information that we have access to.
Yeah, one day.
One day
Then we have
we can hope.
we we have we've got a couple of other questions not related to attendance. So we're just kind of taking the attendance
Yeah,
questions at
so
the
let's
moment.
let's dive into the other thing that I want to share with people, because I think this is while you're all here, I'd love to take the opportunity to share with you a feature that's coming up. It is not available today, but as I said earlier in the call, we are hoping that this is going to be available on or around February 1st, or at the very least by our event, by the next virtual event on virtual events, which is taking place February 8th to the 10th. So you know that at the very least we are pushing super hard for that. But this is one of those features that is surprisingly far along for how complicated it is. So I'm going to start with a little bit of context. Last year or late in 2022, we quietly launched a beta of our marketplace system. And marketplace is the ability for you to sell your tickets on the Obvio platform. And up until that point, Obvio was designed with the ability to have a dashboard, but you sell your tickets somewhere else. And we've always had the goal of making it easier to really kind of do everything on Obvio, right? Create an event, create a sales page, email your attendees, SMS your attendees, get your attendees into Zoom, all on the same platform. So we quietly launched this new feature last year called Marketplace, and we worked with a few clients who worked with it in beta, and there were some significant, let's just say, problems with it. I think it was probably more fair to say that it was an alpha rather than a beta. For those of you who follow software development stages, you might get a giggle out of that. If you don't, you may be like, what the heck is he talking about? But basically, early development. So this summer, we made a strategic decision because we decided that we needed to really reimagine what Marketplace looked like and how it functioned. And we kind of started from the ground up again. We threw out everything that we had done and really just started to reimagine this feature to try and make it more user friendly, and also at the same time more powerful, which is kind of usually when you get more options and more power, it becomes harder to use, not easier. So we were trying to have a little bit of a hat trick there where trying to do both, trying to make it easier to use while giving you more power and flexibility at the same time. So it probably would come to to surprise of none of you, or probably surprise none of you, that that was hard. It was really hard. And in this fall, we actually kind of took a look at everything that we were doing, and we did a little bit of reorganization inside of Obvio. We once again scrapped all of the code that we had written up until that point, and we started again. We reallocated team members inside of our team to have a slightly different team that was working on it because we felt like we needed a fresh look. And what was really exciting is they came up with some really interesting new ways and new ideas for how to actually build pages. Things that I've actually not seen on very many platforms. I know it exists on a few of them, but not on the platforms that I tend to work with most of the time. Bottom line, in mid-December or so, the first iteration made its way onto our testing systems. And for those of you who, have been following along with us, you know that when Grant or myself start actually being hands-on with a feature, it usually means that it's starting to get close to being ready for you to use. Because up until that point, we see screenshots, we see screen records. Grant looks at code. I don't, because I don't know what I'm looking at. But that's the sort of stuff that happens up until that point. When it gets to the point where we start to actually be hands-on, that's when it really gets exciting. And I'll tell you that over the course of the last 30 days, I have issued a total of 98 either bug fixes or feature requests for this new marketplace system, all of which that have actually been enabled. Now, we still have a few things that we're working on, but I thought I would show you a couple of examples of what the new marketplace system is going to look like when you start to see it. And again, this is to make your life easier so that you can build your sales page and your event dashboard on the same system and make it really easy for your attendee to go from sales page to dashboard, right? Because we just want everything to be easier and everything to be more, I'll just say, integrated. So, first off, and keep in mind this is a work in progress, when you go to your purchase page, right? Because inside of Marketplace, you have a ticket manager where you can manage individual tickets, how much they cost, and when they're available for. That's not new. If you've seen Marketplace or seen us talk about that in the past, that actually is the one thing that has remained. The piece that we've really been working on is the ability to build our own pages. And when you first log in, hopefully you're going to see more than this. For now, there are only two templates available. There's a blank page, and there is a page that I actually copied from a Dan Kennedy event that we were playing around with. This is going to look completely different, but this is going to be the starting point. You're going to be able to pick a template, essentially, or a starting point for your sales page. Now, the big difference between templates at the marketplace level and templates for your event is, like for your dashboard, is your sales page can still be completely customized. So I don't want to just show you one of those. I want to go into a page that I've actually done a little bit of work on so far. So I'm going to go into another event and show you. We essentially made the TVE 6 sales page, or a portion of it, inside of Marketplace. And the end result is this, right? So this is what it looks like to the attendee. I clearly have forgotten something over here. And there's a lot here, right? If you've actually seen one of our sales pages in the past, all of this stuff is stuff that we have done. And in the past, we've built these either in WordPress or in ClickFunnels. And if you go into the page builder, you'll actually see all of the little elements. And what's really cool about this is everything is drag and drop. So in a section, if I wanted to put the logo on the other side, you would just kind of move things around on the page. Okay, that's how I want it to appear, right? And then when you go to your page and you refresh from an attendee's perspective, the logo is now on the opposite side. If I wanted to make the logo a little bit bigger, I could probably also, not probably, I could also do that. Now, I probably wouldn't want to do this because that doesn't really look very good, but if I wanted to, you could. Essentially, we've made this page builder very drag and droppable, and not just, for a lot of other page builders, you have to define columns, you have to define the size of your, I'm going to say your grid, essentially, before you actually start adding stuff. And with the Obvio builder, you have a lot more flexibility. So, if I wanted this button to be up at the top, again, you just kind of drag and move it. If I wanted it to be wider, you just drag and move it around. It's really, really pretty awesome. Again, this guy over here is in the wrong spot, so we're going to move this up here. That was supposed to be up there. And I believe this was supposed to be like that. So that looks a little bit more like how we actually intended this to look. There we go. Now, if I kind of come in here and refresh, your page changes are fairly instant, and everything starts to look a lot better. Something that's new in the new Marketplace builder, there's a toggle up here at the top to look at things in mobile view, and you can define the size of sections, the size of content blocks, as well as the location at the mobile level, and that is independent of what things look like at the desktop level. So a lot of flexibility there. The other nice thing is inside of individual elements, you can hide them on mobile or on desktop. So if you have an image like this Sage logo, and I don't want the Sage logo to be visible on desktop or on mobile, then you can do that very, very easily. You can also do that for full sections. So again, I probably don't want this here. So, we'll probably just put this at the desktop only level. And then when you go back in, the logo is gone. So a lot of customization to be able to make your mobile pages different than your desktop pages. And the entire system, much like everything else that we built inside the platform, is mobile responsive. I'm going to go to an empty page for a second and just show you how quickly you can add different elements and what they look like. Now, this is an undesigned page. I'm going to start with a blank page. And you can add sections and blocks. Inside of sections, you can have different types of content blocks. When you click add block, it gives you some options. You can add a title, text, image, ticket selector, a button. You can add videos, purchase forms, separators, bulleted lists, and there are a couple of other things coming. When you see this for the first time, you're going to see numbered lists, and you're also going to see a countdown clock option that you can add in to your blocks. So if I wanted to add a title, I click title and click add. And I'm just going to highlight over this, and I would just say, this is the call to action for my event. So once you click save, you can now resize this to be how you want it to be. If I wanted it on 2 lines, you can then go into your styling. You can change your line height, right? If you want it to be a little bit closer, you can do that. You can change your letter spacing. These are a couple of new things that you haven't seen from us anywhere before. You can change, of course, the color. You can change your font to pretty much any Google font imaginable. And then you can start to do some other things within that content block, like I want to change the background color of that content block to be black or gray. Again, this is not a good design choice, but if you wanted to, this is how you do it. If you wanted to add a little bit of rounded rectangle to that, you can do that. You can also add a different color border to that particular element, as well as a few other things. So now I've got this first piece that I've added to my page, and it's done. Next, add your next piece. Do you want to add, if I wanted to add a video, this is super easy and actually a lot of fun, I think anyway. So you come in here and you go into the section and you basically copy and paste a video URL. Now, this video URL piece works with YouTube. It works with Vimeo, which you would have seen in the past. And then we've added a couple of additional video service providers that we also natively work with inside of this video tool. You can add searchy links for those of you who love searchy, which I happen to, and you can also use Wistia links. So Wistia, YouTube, Vimeo, and searchy are supported with the video system. You can easily change the size of the video that you're working with. If you kind of wanted it to be a full page video, you can do that. One of the things I like about the video box that's kind of new is you have the ability to put a border around it. And with that border, you can actually style it. So if I wanted my video to have a red block around it, not sure I would, but why I would, but just assume for the moment that that's true. You can also essentially give it a little bit of, and this is one of those bugs that needs to be worked out, but you can, you can style it a little bit. If I wanted to have a little bit of a rounded corners around my video, even when it's playing, you can do that. So a lot of a lot of things that are new and different. You can add new sections. There's a lot. There's just so much you can do. But here's probably the most important thing, because with all of the stuff that you can do, there's a lot of possibility to make a really ugly web page, right? So one of the things that we've done, it actually started yesterday. We have our lead designer inside of Obvio, the person who's actually done all of our dashboards up until this point, is designing 3 or 4 different starting points. Okay, so 3 or 4 different templates, and we're going to add them all into the platform. So when you first see it, when you see it for the first time, you're going to be able to say, okay, I want my dashboard to start looking like, or my sales page to start looking like that or this. This is, what I have in here right now is an example of that. If I remove this section and I remove this section, you'll actually see the template selector shows back up when things go smoothly. And once you pick a template that you're happy with, like let's say you wanted to pick this particular template, you just click select, and a couple seconds later, the page loads up, and all of the elements that are on the page that we built come into the page that you have as a starting point. Again, we're going to rebrand this so that it looks a little bit more, less like Dan Kennedy and more like Obvio. But you can then say, okay, you know what, Blue, I don't want my ticket to say, or my button to say get tickets. I want it to say register now, and save. Done. I want my button to be more centered. No problem. Just go ahead and make those changes. So you can, the templates are more of a starting point than they are really actually templates that you don't have a lot of flexibility with. You can go in and change almost every single thing about these pages. And you can even be like, okay, you know what, Blue, I don't like that line at the top that you created. No problem. Just go into the section, remove it, and everything else stays. But now when you look at the page, that line up at the top doesn't exist. So a lot of flexibility, and you're going to have, I mean, we're hoping for you to have 3 to 4 starting points, and then we're going to continue to add to that probably fairly quickly over the course of the coming weeks and months. Here are 2 other things that are super exciting about the new marketplace system. The old marketplace system, when you purchased a ticket, the purchase form would disappear and a thank you message would appear. And that worked fine. But a lot of people wanted a more customized thank you page where you could actually put a video on that page, and something a lot more similar to a lot of the other funnel builders that are out there, or platforms that are out there. Once they purchase this product, take them to that page. So when this product launches, in addition to a purchase page builder, you're also going to have a thank you page builder, and you're going to be able to build custom thank you pages. And on those thank you pages, you're going to be able to put a button that just says access the dashboard. And when you click that button, when the attendee clicks that button, they automatically go into the dashboard. No magic links, none of that stuff. It's all just automated. And something to keep in mind, we're calling this a purchase page, but the purchase page can also be used with free event tickets. So it doesn't have to be a purchased page. It can really be an opt-in page that takes you to a thank you page that then automatically redirects you into the dashboard. All nice and easy. We also still have the purchase confirmation email that goes out on purchase of a new ticket. So you're going to be able to automatically send out an email with a link to the event dashboard, thanking your attendee for registering for the event or for purchasing the event ticket. Then, about a month after the main system gets released, we're going to be releasing probably the thing I'm most excited about inside of the marketplace system, which is the ability to, in between the purchase page and the thank you page, have an upsell page, which means you're going to be able to do what we do at the virtual event on virtual events, which is you sell a GA ticket. Then you have a one-click upsell that allows somebody to purchase an all-access ticket or VIP ticket. And then they have the ability, then they see the thank you page. So it's just a one step closer to making a really fully featured ticket purchase system right from the get-go inside of Obvio. So the system is really, really close. We're not quite ready to actually put it into the hands of users just yet, but it will be happening very, 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 very soon. And I'm super excited about it. Okay, that's it. I'm done talking. No more from me, Grant.
There's a few questions. Can the currency be changed from USD to Canada dollars?
Yeah, so
Terry?
we have um, the marketplace system works with Stripe. And it's actually a feature called Stripe Connect. So essentially, you have your own Stripe account. One of the things about when we set this up right from the get-go, what I said to our team is, I don't want to be in the middle of your clients, your attendees, and you from a money perspective, right? I don't want Obvio to be handling that. So we are using Stripe. You set up a Stripe Connect account. That Stripe Connect account can be in, I don't know, I don't remember how many currencies, but it's a lot. And I know Canadian dollars is one of those currencies. As our most, I don't remember how many currencies there are, but it's like over
It's
100 different
lots.
currencies that you can actually, yeah, it's a lot. Chances
Yeah.
are, if you're on this call, you can set up your account in that currency, and it will function.
Yeah.
The other thing that's new is Marketplace will not come with a fee associated with it from Obvio. So when we announced this like a year ago, there was a 3% platform fee. You had to pay your fee to Stripe, and that's still the case. But there was also a 3% platform fee for Obvio. And we have decided to not have that fee be charged to our clients. So there's no fee from an Obvio perspective to use the new marketplace system, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Just to be really clear, that is your Stripe account. That's what Blue's talking about. Like it ties into it, but you connect your own Stripe account and then you handle everything. None of that money flows through our Stripes accounts or anything like that. So that means that you can
Nope.
handle refunds and you can do all of that yourself. Um, so Heather was just saying it's on our own URL, as in I guess as in the product page, the buying page itself.
Yeah, great question. No, everything is hosted on Obvio. Although interestingly, one of the features that we released fairly quietly last year, up until this point, your event URL were actually like a subdomain, right? So workshop.obv.io. And last year, in December, we actually added 3 additional URLs or top level domains that you can use. You can have your event be at bootcamp.live, at eventsoft.io, or my personal favorite, zoomiverse.com. So you have several options to actually put your URL at. The purchase URL, the purchase page at launch anyway, is going to be /purchase. So it's your event URL /purchase. There's nothing stopping you from getting your own domain and redirecting that domain to the purchase URL. We have started development on the ability to use your own domains inside of Obvio, but that's a very complicated feature, especially given how our system works. And we're targeting the middle of this year for custom domains. So it is something that we're working towards. We know people want to do that and want to be able to use them. But for now, I think bootcamp.live, eventsoft.io and zoomerverse.com are all fairly innocuous, fairly nondescript, right? There's no real branding there. Tells a little bit about what it is, but that's about it. And then even the original domain, which is obv.io, is really small compared to the full subdomain. Like if you wanted it to be workshop.obv.io, people are probably going to see workshop more than they see the rest. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of thoughts there.
So Lee was just saying, how do we send the link to our list? And so it was, so the fact that it's not a custom link, per person or anything, it is just a standard link.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
So there you go.
so Bez saying, do we have a doc with info for us to read and do? Well,
Oh, no. In
we need to
fact, we've
finish it
even
first.
stopped telling you about where our knowledge base is because the last time we updated the knowledge base was about a year and a half ago. And there are screenshots in our knowledge base that relate to the original release of Obvio 4.0. And I'd suggest to you we're pretty much at version 4.5, version 6, version 8, version 20. So don't look at our knowledge base. I do have a task for a team member to start working on rebuilding the marketplace, or sorry, the knowledge base. But no, Bez, there's no documentation just yet. We're working on it.
Not yet.
We've been working on features, man. We're writing code, not writing documentation.
Uh, well, and Blue mentioned before about what we're calling tooltips, or like little buttons throughout the interface that will link to videos as to how to use that. And so that's our preference at the moment, is to start going towards that. The video that we just, like, as in the demo that Blue just did, then we will likely snip it out for now and use that as a little walkthrough of particularly the Zoom attendance. This is how you use it, and so that's an example of how we'll change those videos out as new features come along, and tend to have walkthrough videos rather than full documentation, at least in the short term. So. David was saying, are the template style options based on conversion stats?
So we are I'm going to assume that you're asking that question based on the sales pages. We are currently modeling sales pages after high converting pages that we've seen. So yes.
Oh. Um,
I did. My personal favorite comment, in case anybody's wondering, Linda, I'm saying that you guys are the best. So thank you for that. I mean, Heather said, nice job, boys. It's a good starting point. Thank you for that. Yeah. When will it be ready? Jill asking most likely about Marketplace. Marketplace will, I feel really, really confident right now saying to you that Marketplace will be ready January or February 1st. There are a few things that we still want ready for Marketplace. The actual page builder has a couple of bugs in it right now, but is for the most part very usable today. The things that we want to add to it are, number one, the thank you page. And the second thing that's really important to us is speed, page speed and loading time. And we're doing something with we're putting a really high focus and attention on load times. And that, while the functionality of it isn't going to change much between now and the time that you see it, the load times, especially when looking at page insights from Google, and basic metrics around that, is something that we're putting a very particular focus on, because we know that people are going to want to use this page and send traffic to it from, yes, from your email list, but probably also from Facebook, from Google, from other ad sources, from other paid sources. And a lot of those paid sources will prioritize pages that have higher load speeds or faster load times. So we're putting a particular emphasis on that over the course of the next couple of weeks, so that when we launch, these pages load up nice and fast and get good response time.
Cool, cool. I think we've got to the end of questions related to that. There's a couple of general questions now. Are you ready for those, Blue?
Yeah, let's roll. And thanks for your
Um,
patience, guys. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being a part of this platform. Thanks for making, you know, making what we do actually quite a bit of fun. Grant and I really love these calls. We love showing up. We love the feedback that we get from you guys. I think the thing that is most exciting to us when we log into our back end system on, on a Saturday morning, and we see that there are like 15 events running,
mm,
and we have nothing to do with any one of them, meaning Barry and Blue are not running them. They're not Sage events. They're not events that Grant and his team are working. It's you guys actually using the platform, hosting events, hosting webinars, hosting challenges, hosting workshops, hosting master classes, hosting summits, and just you know just putting the product through its paces. We've had, man, I actually want to take a quick look at the number before I tell you what it is, but I feel like the last time I looked at this, um, do you remember what the number is for how many?
how many events?
Um, yeah, not how many events, how many attendees? I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
it's up over 3 million. Am I am
Yeah, it's
I
over
am I
three. Yeah.
wrong on that?
No, it's over three. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had over
Mm.
3 million, registered attendees go through this platform. So while a lot of it is brand new, and we're kind of quiet, we don't have a sales page for it yet. We haven't done a huge promo or a huge launch. Um, it is a platform that I would say is battle tested, and stands up to what some of our most demanding clients throw at it. Um, but like I said, I love logging in on the weekend and seeing, you know, 15 different events with anywhere from 5 people in attendance to a few hundred. It's just awesome to see you guys actually using the platform.
Heather was just asking, is it live? I'm guessing you're asking about Marketplace, and not yet. Getting real close though, as you can see, because we did a demo live, and it was working, and it
Yeah,
didn't go to a white,
ish. There were
it
a
didn't go
couple.
to
There were
a
a couple
white
of bugs
screen
there.
with
Yeah,
us,
yeah, exactly.
but it didn't delete everything. That's a good start.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that's a really good start. No kidding.
so Jeff was just asking, can you share where the following features are on the development roadmap? Sign up URL, easy to copy and paste for host. Yeah, that's an easy one we need to do. Um, and then attendance certificate, user specific for tracking training hours. Another really good one.
Yeah. So what's really interesting about that, Jeff, is um, a customized certificate is something that I have on my list, on my wish list, and it's actually not all that hard. Um, so once we get through the major development of marketplace, I suspect now that we have the ability to tag based on attendance, the next feature is the ability to do some of those time-based features that really were only useful if we could give you this sort of information in advance. And, certificates are one of them. So it's definitely on our list, the ability to do that, the ability to, provide a button on the dashboard that when the user clicks on it, downloads a PDF that has some custom pieces of information, like their name, as an example, overlaid over top of a PDF that you upload the main design for, and then move the piece, move the custom bit of information into the place that you're looking for. So that is on the list. I will say this year. I'm not going to give you a specific time frame because I don't have it.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, Mary was asking earlier about how long an attendee can access the recordings, and Justin was jumping in there on that as well as far as how to host them as well. But that was I think Justin answered that well. Um, we do encourage people to download those recordings. First of all, to say that you can't take the Zoom recording and just have that embedded on the dashboard. You do need to host it somewhere else, and so you can use something like Searchy or Wistia or Vimeo. All of those are good options to be able to take your recording, probably trim it up a little bit, and then have it hosted there, and then putting that back on your dashboard or sending it out, however you want to do that. But we do encourage people to download their recordings, the Zoom cloud recordings, as they are not there indefinitely. And so it's good practice after your event, given it about two times, one and a half, two times your event time is how long it takes generally to process those, and then you can go and access those and download them. So that's on the recording side. Um, so the next thing we had was Bill was asking about OBS. Have you got that working okay now? I don't know if he's still here. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
it looks
think
like
I
you've been
figured it
working.
out while we were on the call here. If you didn't do anything, then yeah, it was 100% OBS.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing that Obvio is doing that's any different than Zoom. Once Zoom is launched on your local computer, it's just taking whatever web cameras or virtual web cameras are available to that system and inputting that into Zoom. There's nothing that we can do on our account to be able to lock that down. So there must be just something else about how you've come into Zoom or something else on that machine that was a bit different for you.
If anyone else has a problem, it was my virtual camera settings. I had to set it to a scene and use a scene as the
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, I'd see Jeff nodding there. He spends a lot of time in OBS and messes around with that. So if you have any other trouble, you might be able to reach out to Jeff too, because he does lots of this. So,
One
but I'm
question,
glad
if
you
I
got,
might, while we're
yeah,
here,
yeah, go for it.
I've had this for 3 years and I've wholly neglected it, right? Like I haven't done anything. My other business has been taking all my time and I really want to get going. So if I don't know if there's a way, like if there's people putting on events that like I could volunteer to help them do things. So that way I learn through immersion, um, tech check or whatever. Um, I would love to do that if there's anyone that needs help.
Yeah, look, that's uh, a great offer and a great suggestion for the community. So I would suggest on the Facebook group to throw that out there. And it definitely has happened in the past where people have shared resources and kind of been like, let me come and just assist you on your event, and then they could come and assist you on on yours. Let me assist you on yours, and then you could come back and you can go both ways, right? Scratching backs.
Yeah.
And that's a really good thing to do, particularly as people, we know that our users have varied size events, ranging from very small to very large. And I would say, even on the very small events, having someone who's got your back, as far as tech support or Zoom support, is really helpful. And so I think it's great, and that's exactly what that Facebook group is one of those things it's good for, is just putting your hand up and saying, hey, if you've got an event soon, let me come and help you out. And maybe you can come and help me on my event, and that just gets you more hours of using Obvio. I was going to say that before as well, is that coming up with excuses to use Obvio is a really good thing too, right? Like
Yeah.
meetings that you're doing. We've heard about people that were planning a family holiday, and so it was a large one, so they got their five or 6 or 7 different people from the family and used Ovio and kind of set up a dashboard and use that as an excuse to get people in and doing it. So, and your unlimited events, unlimited usage. We really encourage you to do that because then you build your confidence in being able to run your events on Obvio and see how easy it is. So
Awesome.
great,
Thanks,
great.
Grant.
No problems. So Heather was just saying about I tried and was unable to get it work as far as go high level and setting up a tag blue for Zoom attendance.
Do I need to set the tag up first and go high? I think that's the problem. Am I
You're
muted or is he?
no blue's double muted there.
Oh,
Sorry
okay.
about that. Thank you. Yeah, I am not sure if
Okay.
let's just say yes, you should probably set up the tag first and go high level, and then yeah, then you should be able to select it in Obvio. I feel like there's the possibility that you can actually create tags from Obvio, but I don't remember in this moment. And
Okay.
I don't have an account that's connected to a go high level account right
So
now.
once I do that, let's say I create the tag and then in go high level, then I go to Obvio and say, hey, do this. It's just going to sync it right then. Or is there anything else I need to do? Like press a sync to sync that over or no?
You mean for your attendees, like which on because do you mean like to import attendees, Heather?
So yeah,
Or do you
so
mean
this
to apply a
client, the
tag from
last,
Obvio?
yes, this client, the last 2 days they did an event and I want to tag the people that attended, right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
So you create you create the tag in go high level, then you
Mhm.
go into your event and you go to Zoom attendance. You select the date range that you're trying to do this for, and
Yep.
then you select export or you select attendee actions and
Okay.
apply external tag.
Okay.
And then you type in the name of the tag that that you just created in go high level, and
Okay.
then you apply the tag.
Okay. And then it syncs over to go high level so I can do a workflow and automation.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it depending on how many people you're tagging, it may take a few minutes. It may take up to 20 minutes. It just depends on the it depends on what go high levels API restrictions are, because I actually don't remember what they are in this moment.
Okay. But it can't sync back to go high level. That's what I didn't know about. It's like 206 attendees. I'm looking at the numbers right now. So
That shouldn't take long. Yeah. That
okay.
would probably be a couple of minutes tops.
I'm excited about this. Thank you.
Awesome. Enjoy.
Um, so Blue, I can't remember if we had high level working when you did the walkthroughs, like the workshops. Did you do a little?
I don't know that I did, but I do
No.
have actually on my list for this year to do a couple of videos specific to the service integrations, because there's go high level, active campaign, Entreport, and ConvertKit are all fairly undocumented. How they work is very, very similar to all the rest of them, but there are some minor unique elements with each of them. So I have on my list to actually do a short video for each of those.
There you go. Yeah, and I think once we have our little tool tips in places, it'll start to be more obvious the things that we're missing. And that's
Mhm.
and you probably start to see us on these calls, saying we're gonna just record a little how-to on this thing that we're missing, and that'll be an opportunity for us to do it each week. So, all right, we're getting a little thinner on questions now. So now's the time if you've got that burning question to place that in. That's great. People connect on the Facebook group. Absolutely. Put a list there, make a comment, and then you might DM each other on Facebook and take it from there. That's great. Cool, cool. everyone's just in awe of the new changes, the new updates.
Oh, we're really, listen, I don't know that anybody is more in awe of the new updates than I am. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. I'm glad you guys are feeling it with me.
Oh, I think the being able to like Zoom attendance thing, I'm very excited about particularly this idea of scheduling the change that could happen too, because it means that before your event, you could have something that happens that people can see on their dashboard for day two of an event, for example. There's a special blog post that appears only for people that were online at a particular time. And all of that could be set up before your event even goes live. You know, the blog post is sitting there ready to only be seen by those people, and the scheduled tag would happen only for people that were online at that time. And so you can customize certain posts on the dashboard to be able to say, "Hey, it was great having you there yesterday," or on the converse, you can say, "Hey, you missed out on this session, and here's a video of it," or catch us after this for a special session, or whatever it is. So being able to customize that for people that were there or weren't there is amazing. So, and equally the marketplace. And I know I'm just repeating all the same sort of stuff, but just from my perspective of being able to do so much more within Obvio and not needing necessarily all these extra integrations with other platforms. We continue to do the same because we're not trying to copy the features of some of these other services. We want to just have the basics for you to be able to get something going, and then if you do need to move off to using Keep or any of the other ones, then you certainly can, and you can grow with that. But you'll be able to do the basics in Obvio directly. That's what we're moving towards. So this gets us a lot closer to that. Cool, cool. Comments there. Karen, if you're testing again in February, looking forward to using the most promising. Yep, absolutely. Have fun with that. All right. It does feel like we're drying up on questions. Um, last call, everyone. It's like it's happening. Well done, Blue. Had lots of your word count was high today as you pushed through all of those the two big demos. I think people will enjoy going back over this video and watching it. So you're welcome to do that. That's why we put it on YouTube. It's not really to be live streaming, but actually just instant availability for watching it back. So, oh, great.
One thing that I think is probably important for everybody to know, the data that's available inside of Zoom attendance is available retroactively to November 1st of 2023. Okay. There is data in the system prior to November 2023, but there are moments in time during the last year or so where we were making changes to the data collection systems and the data is inconsistent. So if you go back to an event that you hosted last year sometime and you're like, oh, look, there is data here, that's fine to do that. Just know that we're really only intending for this data to be used for events that happened on or after November 1st of 2023. Just a little caveat.
Heather, I'm not quite sure in my event publicly to others. Can you cross promote? It's a publicly accessible purchase
If I have
page.
my event up there, can other people see events? Can I see other people's events like that? Like, can
Oh,
I see? Like, is it a big
see.
Oh,
marketplace
like
that?
do we have a directory of events available for purchase sort of
Yeah.
thing? Is that what you're
Yeah, like a
asking?
marketplace, like an
No.
Amazon, I can see. No?
Yeah, no, not Not at this time. We've talked about that. I love it as a concept. I think the reality is, though, not a whole lot of people are going to an Obvio branded directory page. So
Sure.
while it's something that we will probably do at some point in the future, it's fairly low on the priority list because we know that 99.999% of the traffic is going to come from you, not from us.
Okay. Yeah, just curious. That's cool.
Yeah. No, it is a feature that we've thought about, but it's something that's low on the list. We got to get a sales page up there first, Heather.
Mhm.
Like our own sales page. I mean, we made a sales page builder for you guys before we built our own sales page without the need for a builder. Just saying. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I was curious. Do you ever see the emojis being able to be tracked in attendees? So, in other words, if you have a ton of reactions at a point from attendees, as far as something you said or point you made, maybe that's popular. Just curious if that's been talked about at all.
Yeah, so I love that as a concept. And here's where the biggest concern / confusion comes in with that particular statement. Do we mean the emojis like the reactions inside of Zoom? Do we mean the emojis that exist on the dashboard? Do we mean the emojis that exist as reactions to chat? And the reason I say that's a problem is because those really are three different types of things. So from a user perspective, to say, hey, look, here's trackable emoji stuff, not a lot of people who don't have a studio are using the emoji function, right? So you have it. We use it all the time. I love the emojis. It's actually one of my favorite things about the platform. The fact that people can click a button on the dashboard and like a heart goes up a giant screen behind me is just freaking awesome. But you need the giant screen to make that work. And most people don't have that. So we do have a few ideas in mind for that. We've talked about we've actually talked about making points available for people who click emojis, right? Like doing 1 point per click sort of thing. And we also have talked about, stats around that. And I think once we get to a point where some of the other bigger features that are more applicable to most users are there, then you'll start to see us do some of the more almost like enterprise, like studio level features. And we have a few studio level features that I'm actually, really pumped about. One of them is the ability to take a form response and turn it into a lower third so that somebody who has a switcher like you can take a question from a form and actually overlay it onto the video in real time. Right. So there's like stuff like that we want to do because I want to do it in our studio. But it's just so niche. Like if we have 1,000 users, 10 of them are going to use that function. But it's definitely those are definitely some things that are on our list as we get past some of the more features that are applicable to everybody.
Love it. Cool. Thank you.
You are welcome.
So
Cool.
David was saying, what are the most recommended, most secure platforms for hosting video content once it's recorded in Obvio? Can we transfer the video directly from Obvio to the hosting platform, or do we need to download to our computer, then upload to the other platforms? So two things, two parts of the question. I believe the ones that I mentioned, definitely Vimeo, definitely Wistia, definitely Searchy, you can control where they can be viewed, right? And so it is secure in that sense so that you can lock down not only that like on Vimeo, for example, it can't be seen on vimeo.com. You can say that. And then you can also say it can only be embedded on this domain, on the Obvio domain. And now it will only work on that dashboard and that's it. To the second part of the question, we have one integration with Searchy that will take recordings directly from the Obvio Zoom cloud and take it straight to Searchy without you having to download them. And so that's an app within Searchy that you add, and then you add add a token the token from the services page on in Obvio. You add that token, and now all of your event recordings show up in a list in Searchy, and then you can choose which ones to download and put it straight into Searchy. So there's an advantage to using Searchy and not having to download. So plus you get all those advantages with the transcript and the, being able to jump through the videos and things like that Searchy offers, those extra cool features. And then do you stream to an unlisted channel so it's not public? Just curious. No, we don't, because we're happy for these videos for anyone to be easily be able to see. But yeah, the main purpose is just for the instant replay. And so, but you can stream to a unlisted event, and you could do it that way and then make it available for people to watch afterwards if you want to do that as a quick turnaround for some of your events. That's a possibility, one way of using the live stream function within Zoom. So cool. Justin was writing back to someone. Yep. Great. I think we're gonna give Blue and myself a 15-minute early minutes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Great.
and thanks again, guys. We will be back next week. As I said at the beginning of this call, Q&A calls now all happen at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So I will be back in the afternoon. Grant will be back in the morning, and we will see you next week. In the meantime, if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, about any other things that you're struggling with or curious about as it relates to Obvio, you can always use the chat function that is built into the application. We have people available Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can also email us at help@obv.io. And then also don't forget the Facebook group. It's a great place to post your questions and get them answered, not just by myself, Grant, and our support team, but also by members of the community who use this platform every day. So lots of options for you to get the support you need to make your event a success, not the least of which is a whole bunch of fun new features coming your way from our team. So thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.